welcome you to a championship triple header here at the 2019 USA Ultimate US Open Championships. From the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota, the women's final features each of the last 3 US Open women's champions. Brute Squad champs in 2 of the last 3 years. Columbia Revolution captured our hearts 2 years ago and looking to win their second US Open title yesterday. Revolution, a dramatic comeback against Riot, overcoming a 4-point deficit. Meanwhile, Brute Squad outlasting Scandal. We can only hope that today's game is as dramatic as the 2 semifinals were. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for waking up with us. Evan Lepler, Megan Tormey, Ian Toner down on the field in just a moment. These 2 teams for Ultimate fans need very little introduction. Brute Squad and Revolution, standard bearers in the sport over the course of the past few years.
Both programs so fierce, so hungry, and both determined to win this game today. It's going to go down to the wire just like it did when they met yesterday.
Yeah, it was a universe point game when they met in pool play. 16-15 for Boston Brute Squad, the 2-time national champion. Again, they've won 2 of the last 3 US Opens. In 2016, they won the Triple Crown. If they're going to do that again, they need to win today. They've got Cami Groom back. That's a good start.
Zoom, zoom, Cami Groom. She is an absolute speedster, and Boston looks to her to keep things going. She's a very difficult person to defend. She cuts wherever she wants. Fierce defender, very well-rounded athlete. We can expect great things from her today.
May see her play a little more offense. Leanne Hoffman questionable for today's game with a hamstring tweak. For Columbia Revolution, making it look like they were down and out in the semifinals against Riot, trailing by 4. They needed back-to-back breaks to win, and this team, when you put a difficult task in front of them, they seem to get the job done. A huge reason why Gina Cartagena, she assisted on more than half of her team's goals yesterday.
Listen, it's clear she has outstanding field vision, keeps a lot within her periphery at the same time. But Coach Mauricio Moore says she has a hunger inside her that enables her to stay determined and make the really tough plays. And we saw it pay out in dividends yesterday in their win over Riot.
Gina Cartagena, now 28 years old, ready to lead her team against the Boston Brute Squad here in the finals at the 2019 US Open. As Megan mentioned, they met earlier in the tournament. It went down to the wire. We can only hope this game is as great. Brute Squad and Revolution coming up. The USA Ultimate US Open Club Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. By the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistorybook.com. And by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. A bright and sunny Sunday morning at the US Open here at the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. Revolution and Brute Squad getting ready to battle. Down on the field, Ian Toner has the keys to the game. Ian?
Thanks, Evan. Ariel Jackson and Mauricio Moore didn't want to reveal too much when we talked to them in our pregame chats, but in asking them about their learnings from Friday's 16-15 Brute Squad victory, they both focused on the same phase of the game, Brute Squad's offense versus Revolution's defense. Moore thought Revolution's defense gave up too many around break throws around the stretch, and Ariel Jackson wants to see how his offense is going to continue to improve against the defensive sets that Revolution throws against them. We're going to get our first look at that right off the bat as Brute Squad's offense is set to receive the opening pull. Evan?
Yeah, Brute Squad won the toss and chose to start on O. Groom, Malinowski, the Montreal native Grignon Thomas, Trope, Tajima, veteran Amber Sinecrope, and Yuga Shao from the mixed division where she played with AMP for a number of years now on Brute Squad. Revolution. The big 4 features Cardenas, Mosquera, and Cartagena. That 4 will be on the field a lot together. Montaña, Forero, Rojas, Rico, and Santos, other names certainly to know. We are underway in the 2019 US Open Women's Championship game. Amber Sinekrope receives the pull. First completion to Claudia Tajima. And there's Claire Trope. What a pickup she has been, launching deep immediately. Grignon Thomas is not going to get there. And Trope begins with a throwaway. Revolution, a chance for an early break. Certainly a decisive string of passes at the start. Just a little too much depth on that deep shot.
Yeah, it looks like it might have been a set pull play. All the pieces were in place, but the release on that throw coming just a touch too soon.
For those who were with us for the semifinals, the start of our quadruple header of ESPN3 coverage yesterday, you realize that Revolution had opportunities to break Riot early, were unable to do so, and fell behind 4-0. And 0 for 1 on break chances at the start today. These two teams know each other quite well. They've had a number of battles. The U.S. Open this year. They met in the semifinals at the World Ultimate Club Championships last year in Ohio. That was the game that was interrupted late in the first half and then continued at an indoor venue later that night. Laying out for this one, and in the end zone, Grignon Thomas for the Brute Squad score. Spectacular start.
That disc sailing just a touch too high for its intended receiver. This time, Brute Squad looking a little more polished on that offensive possession.
Grignon Thomas was such a huge addition to the team last year. Coming back for her second season and still making plays. Sinekrope with the assist. I mean, she really was a game changer for Brute Squad a year ago. They were oh so close to another national title in San Diego, losing on Universe Point to Fury for the second straight year. We asked head coach Ariel Jackson about the mindset of handling a loss like that, and I thought it was a really interesting, measured response. A mix of not wanting to overreact, but also wanting to take the appropriate lessons, not necessarily from that point, but from the whole season so they can be 1 point better. You don't want to reinvent the wheel when you're in Universe Point in the finals at Nationals, but at the same time, losing that game back-to-back times after winning it the previous 2 years can leave you wanting more.
That's an absolutely fair point. So much is going well in the Brute Squad system. Yeah, you don't want to hang too much on a single point.
Heck of a catch there to keep that disc alive by Uribe. That huck is sailing errantly. Werfele was there defensively, and presumably the Dartmouth two-time champion will scoop up the disc here for Brute Squad. Cami Groom catches the under. Cami certainly played a lot of offense in her career, but thought of more so as a defensive player. But with Leanne Hoffman not 100%, she was warming up to see how it felt, unsure of whether she would play. As Werfele lets it fly, looking for Groom, and what a throw. Perfectly placed over the defense. Cartagena leapt to no avail, and Brute Squad takes a 2-0 lead.
That throw very much off mark. But this throw from Werfele, I have become such a fan of Juliana Werfele.
You're not the only one.
That's fair. Then I'm in the club.
On the bandwagon. I mean, she was spectacular for the USA U24 team in Heidelberg, Germany a couple weeks ago. And when you have targets like Cami Groom and Leanne Hoffman and Amber Sinekrope and Alana Schwam and Jessie Grignon Thomas, they make handlers look good.
Absolutely. It does pay to have really nice targets. But she highlights her versatility as a handler by being outstanding in whatever system you put her in.
Boston Brute Squad trying to stay perfect on their young season. 2-0 with wins over Scandal and Huck. Both difficult games, and then a tight one with Revolution. The German national team had a lead midway through that game against Boston, but a good, strong second half earned Brute Squad a spot in the semis where they narrowly outlasted DC Scandal. They're having a lot of really good games in the women's division at this tournament. Probably more close games than any of the other two divisions, especially in the bracket play. Here's Manuela Cardenas, turned 20 last week. Her twin sister Valeria, superstar in the 33 jersey as well. This is Cartagena, who we talked about in the Open, dishing to Mosquera, who might be the best all-around defensive player on the Revolution roster. And her coach might think she's the best defensive player in the world. Santos shoots it to the end zone, and that's a smooth offensive point for Revolution, an important one to respond after getting broken on the previous attempt.
Looking like they've dialed back and settled in just a little bit more this point. Only sure shots taken from the Revolution offensive line.
Maria Fernanda Galindo with the score. And Megan, we talked so much about the superstars on this Colombian team, but while they don't have depth in terms of 17 to 27, they've got 15, 16 players that they trust, that they count on. Yes, they rely on their studs in the most important moments, but players like Santos and Rico and Galindo and Montaña, Forero, Uribe, all making important plays as well.
I talked to Coach Moore about that a little bit this morning. You know, asked him how the team was feeling. They have a smaller roster. Do they have the energy to do this? And he expressed that the smaller roster is by design. It's not like they couldn't get more people to come, but he feels that in these situations, less is more. He's trying to boost the professionalism of this team. He says if you have fewer players, then you make more connections on the field. So he feels that the team's chemistry has really developed by choosing to bring fewer players to the tournament.
And he talks a lot about that concept of professionalism and says that this tournament is part of the pathway to professionalism. Deep shot from Malinowski, what a throw. Alana Schwam unleashes a picture-perfect backhand huck. And Malinowski, the deep striker for Brute Squad, hauls it in.
Perfect shape to that put. And I gotta take this moment to say Malinowski is such a capable downfield cutter. She's so adept at timing her cuts perfectly to set up throwers, to put up beauties like that and run them down ahead of the defender. You notice there was no footwork necessary to buy time at the end of that put. She ran straight up to it. Revolution couldn't even make a bid.
Malinowski in her 8th year on Brute Squad and Alana Schwam in her 7th. And it's always great to see Alana back on the field after she battled and beat stage 3B malignant melanoma, diagnosed in 2016, went through surgery and immunotherapy, and is back playing better than ever. Centered to Valeria Cardenas, and here's Gina Cartagena, the continue for Manuela Cardenas, who rips a backhand deep. She's got a wide open target. Just shy of the end zone is Maddie Fry. A pick in the middle of the field halts play. There we saw the one errant huck from Claire Trope and the one errant huck from Revolution, but Other than that, we've seen 2 or 3 beautiful deep throws early in this game. This is the 23-year-old Alejandra Uribe. Most of this team is from Medellin. A couple United States additions as well. A couple players from Bogota. Cartagena unmarked for the moment. Over to Santos. And Santos might be the future star for this team. Just 18 years old. One of the top defenders at U24 Worlds in Heidelberg. And Revolution back within 1. The Huck sets up the smooth red zone offense, punctuated by Manuela Cardenas. 3rd straight turnover-free point of this game.
Nice putting Revolution at the doorstep. And great patience from Revolution trying to find the hole in Brute Squad's brutal defense. Manuela Cardenas having to bend that all the way around the stack to find Cartagena. Excuse me, Cardenas.
Yeah, the sisters connected on that one. I mean, 2 years ago, when Revolution won the U.S. Open, they were as important to the team then as they are now, and then they were just 18. We lose track in perspective of what they've done at the age they've done, because they started playing when they were 9. In 2016 in London, they were in the WUGC Women's Final, and they were 16. It was kind of insane then, and it's still crazy now.
That's totally fair to say, and they are so consistently amazing that, as you say, it's very easy to forget how young they are.
But you talk to their coach, and he thinks there's a lot of things that they can improve upon, especially in the mental game. Rignon Thomas, picked up by Eliana Rico. And here's Schwamm unleashing again, and it's Claire Trope wide open this time. The deep space is open both ways. Trope, the superstar speedster from Seattle, falls in the score, 4-2 Brute Squad.
Lots of these throws taking up so much yardage. Brute Squad's offense is really stretching the field, and I love how Schwamm is able to just uncork her backhand, knowing that Trope is going to be able to run it down.
No hesitation
Yeah.
whatsoever. Claire Trope, a special young talent as well. She's just 20 years old too. And it's hard to fathom, you know, to think about 10, 15, 20 years down the road. You know, could we still be calling Claire Trope versus Manuela Cardenas showdowns in a decade or two? I bet the folks that covered Dominique Fontenette in the late 90s, early 2000s didn't imagine that she would still be going as strong as she is in 2019, but you know, she shows that it's possible. Yesterday was Tom Brady's 42nd birthday, Megan. He's still going strong.
Athletes are certainly getting smarter at what it takes to recover between tournaments, recover during the off season, and keep the body strong so that you can continue to perform at high levels for more seasons.
Maddie Fry squeezes that one through near the sideline past the bidding Vicky Negus. Cartagena resets for Manuela Cardenas. Caitlin Lee bouncing on the mark. Here's Manuela. A pick downfield, the disc presumably will stay. Santos was clear of the traffic. Sophie Hulbert, second-year Brute Squad defender, to count the stall. You saw two cutters from the front of the stack moving at once. They both stopped kind of at the same moment. That's the discipline. You know, they sensed it was their time to take the stage. They realized someone else was going. They recognized immediately. Maintain the structure of the offense. That throw a little high. There was contact on that incompletion, but I think Cartagena acknowledging that Nicole Canning's bump did not impact the catch. She had already dropped it. First turnover in a while. Deep shot testing Manuela. And her presence impacts Erin Ray's ability to make the catch, which she does not. So the fourth and fifth and then sixth turnovers of the game on consecutive throws. He had 3 turnovers in the first 6 points and then 3 turnovers in the last 3 throws here in the 7th point. Vicky Chen shoots it downfield for Lee. Chen, that's gonna work. Not sure if she was shooting it for Hulbert or Canning, but it does find the latter. And Brute Squad breaks again to lead 5-2. Great defense on the mark, canceling the flick. And then Canning on the break side runs it down. U.S. Open last year, Megan, was a breakout performance for Nicole Canning. Possible we could see something like that from Vicky Chen this year, who at age 31 is in her first year on Brute Squad. Previously played with Siege, Green Means Go in Philly, and Scandal also in D.C. Ariel Jackson saying she adds value because she handles, but she also covers cutters on the D-line. And that's an interesting spot because Brute Squad has some cutters on defense that they like to guard handlers. So it allows them to orchestrate the matchups in a fairly unique way.
Certainly, that kind of versatility on defense will really help an individual establish themselves on a new team. Obviously, it's going to take a while to learn the offensive system, but if you come in and add value on defense, you're going to find yourself having a more impactful role sooner.
Columbia, once again, finding themselves facing an early deficit here in the final. In pool play, they fought past Portland Schwa 15-13 and then took down Nightlock by 8. The loss in the 1v1 seeding crossover to Brute Squad. That game was a back and forth affair. And then, you know, they came back against Molly Brown. They were down by 3 in the first half of that game. They were down by 4 in the first half against Riot. Early deficits, they're not what Mauricio Moore prefers, but it doesn't make them panic.
I did talk to him about the start to the Riot game yesterday, and he admitted that it was hard. It was very hard to feel themselves, dig themselves into that hole so early. But he talked about a practice that the team has called taking el respiro, which means taking a breath. Players pause, take a knee for an instant to see what happened, reflect on the cause of what happened, and come to a conclusion. Not just don't get broken, but assess, why did I get broken? Was I scared? Was I lazy? And make adjustments that are bigger than just small strategic changes, but getting to the core of what's causing the poor performance and coming back to the team collective.
There's no question the mental strength of this team is immense. And it's something that they focus on a lot, perhaps more so than the top U.S. women's club teams. Again, they treat themselves as professionals. Everything about their season, their journey is about building towards being a professional team. He wants all of his players to embrace that mindset. And again, it's Manuela connecting with Cartagena. And the breather before that point paid off.
That's a Revolution score. Boston 5, Medellin 3.
More said about the game against Riot yesterday. You know, the easy thing would have been to just say, we're losing, we're going to lose. But to them, this is more than just a game. There are reflections in your attitude towards the game that resonate in life as well, which enable them to dig deep and make an amazing comeback.
Mauricio used the phrase, a new generation of Ultimate, kind of referring to how they want to approach their season, their journey. Cartagena certainly epitomizes that mindset. Asked Mauricio what still stands out about Gina Cartagena, and the first word was commitment. She's got a lot of perspective from playing as long as she has. Her mental game has improved, but even with that said, she was a rock back in 2008, playing Junior Worlds at age 17. That pull is a smidge too far.
This is out the back of the end zone on the pole.
Werfley lets it go. Tajima will scoop it up. Claudia Tajima, well-tenured member of this Brute Squad, 8th year. Great player at Tufts University, where she now coaches the men's team. After playing on the women's team, launching a backhand high in the air. Mosquera is roaming, and she easily snatches that away. A throw that Tajima certainly will want back. And Valeria Cardenas launching at Mosquera in pursuit. That's what Valeria is known for. Majestic hucks. A break for Revolution back within one.
That's Boston 5, Medellin 4.
You sense the excitement as Mosquera sees the disc coming directly to her. And then that adrenaline fuels her movement downfield. As soon as the disc is in Cardenas' hands, Mosquera is already sprinting to the end zone.
Megan, some throwers just have the innate ability to throw with incredible velocity and power, but also the precision and finesse and float at the end of the throw. Like when that left Valeria's hands, I'm like, this is gonna be too far. And I'm not saying Mosquera isn't blazing fast, but the way that disc changed speeds and floated to the finish line was magical.
Yeah, the shape of the disc is really what helped it reach its intended target at the appropriate time. There was just enough outside in that it ate up some time while Mosquera covered the distance, and they met perfectly in the end zone.
The assist leaders for the tournament, certainly no surprise to see those three names at the top of the list. Gina Cartagena and Valeria Cardenas. Another pull that narrowly misses the field.
Disc is out of bounds on the pole.
Revolution has been a few yards away from a couple of perfect pulls, but now Tajima marching this one forward, and it'll be even beyond the brick mark because that disc never came back in bounds. So near midfield is where Brute Squad starts. Tajima to Sinacrope. Middle of the field for Groom. Grignon Thomas. Takes the reset for Schwam. Angela Zhu with a short flip to Sinacrope. Some angle on that disc. Perhaps a little more than she wanted. Incomplete. Intended for Schwam.
The previous point we talked about how the shape of the disc can really help the timing. The wrong shape on the disc can be absolutely crushing. Just a tiny bit too much blade on that throw, and it dove down to the turf.
Manuela Cardenas, full extension to stay alive, and even before she got back to her feet, she takes the timeout. Revolution looking to break back and even this game up at 5-all.
That's their second and final timeout of the first
And
half.
the first 9 points of this, fairly emblematic of these two teams. Ariel Jackson, the first thing he told us this morning when we asked how the weekend's gone, he said, we've gone on runs and we've given up runs. That's kind of the story of this team, and both these teams, as a matter of fact. This is the first leg of the Triple Crown Tour. To win the Triple Crown, you got to win the U.S. Open on August 4th, the Pro Championships on Labor Day Monday, September 2nd in Pennsylvania, and the National Championships in San Diego. We saw Brute Squad accomplish that feat a few years back. Elite Select Challenge a couple weeks away from Rockford, Illinois. Last 5 years, only team that has won both the U.S. Open and Club Nationals, Brute Squad, 2016. Fury winning the last 2 national championships, both over Brute Squad on Universe Point. Brute has been in the national finals 4 years in a row. 2 wins and 2 one-point losses. Again, you don't want to change what you do because of those losses, but those grate on you, don't they? You know.
Oh, well, certainly I don't know what it's like to lose in the finals of nationals.
That shot well defended by Trope. Forced a little bit by Revo. Out of the timeout, Brute Squad will take over. And this is the Boston O point, remember, so their O-line with Tajima and Zoo and Groom. Zoo to Sinacrope. Here's Zoo launching for Schwam. Gorgeous put, great layout. Brute Squad delivers.
As you said, just a little bit forced that throw. Trope did a great job of reading it over Mosquera. And then I loved watching Zoo pause on that put.
Why was that important?
Gave Schwam plenty of time to run under it. And as it was, she had to lay out to grab it. If Zoo had released just a split second earlier, that might not have been a goal.
Great stuff from the Brute Squad O. After one turnover, they get it back and punch it in. Schwam involved in 3 of the Brute Squad scores. And Zoo, the former Callahan winner at Dartmouth, picks up her first assist of the day. You can imagine the tug-of-war that the Dartmouth contingent has had over Claire Trope, who played for Seattle Riot last year, now coming over to Brute Squad. Jack Verjou lost the battle of 2019. Perhaps in 2020, things will change. Underneath, it's Fry. Downfield for Mosquera. Fun matchup. Canning chasing Mosquera around. The reset contested, but Cartagena able to hang on with Tulsa Douglas, putting the pressure on. Uribe back to Cartagena. And that's in the end zone. great downfield spacing. Several Revolution cutters kept their form in the end zone, did not force themselves into the play, and enabled Santos to have that open side space for Cartagena to hit.
You know, I was going to say the same thing. The handler set had to do a little bit of maneuvering to get themselves back into position, and all the players downfield gave them the space to maneuver around the Brute Squad defenders. You saw them push back a little bit to reset, setting themselves up for this easy play. You see the 3 Revolution handling set. A little bit clustered, ultimately spreading out, everyone else pushing downfield. Great red zone offense.
Is the Brute Squad adjustment there to not necessarily follow the player you're guarding into the stack to try and clog up some of the space on the open side? Because they were trying to stay very close, and that enabled Santos to claim that all of a sudden space that was wide open. And we see Cartagena surpass Robin Fennig, who was amazing for DC Scandal, her new team, my former broadcast partner, Nationals 2016. Happy to see Robin back from her torn ACL with a new team playing well. Again, Sinacrope and Dejima handling, getting Groom involved downfield. One thing that you often see the Colombian marks do, they don't worry so much about the stall count. They will back off the player they're guarding to try to cut off the angle. You see from Manuela again right there, backing off, denying Groom the backhand. And again, she carves off the angle, and then she'll creep toward the handler. You can stall once you're within 10 feet. Brute Squad, too good though, offensively. Tajima to Trope.
Tajima to the end zone for Claire Trope, and the Brute Squad score. That's Boston 7, Medellin 5.
7 of the 12 points in this first half have been turnover-free, including this last one.
It was certainly one of the goals of the Revolution squad to prevent Brute Squad from throwing breaks, which is part of the reason they have shaped their marks the way that they have. Starting a little bit farther away, pulling in closer. But you notice how comfortable Brute Squad is throwing slightly tightly angled throws.
Two more goals for Trope. And Tajima, when she is calm, she's excellent. And get a little trigger happy, as we've seen, but she's really become a sturdy anchor for the O-line over the past few years for this team. A lot of people were wondering who would replace the presence of Leila Tunnell. And I think between Tajima and Sinacrope, they lost a player of Tunnell's stature and just kept on winning. Leila and her brother Dylan were here in Minnesota this week, coaching their Amherst YCC team. One of the great brother-sister combinations in the history of the sport, for sure. Here's Cartagena. Fry back to Gina. And again, great spacing downfield. And a hearty vamos let fly by Santos upon making the scoring grab. Maria Paula Santos, her teammates call her Mapa. Cartagena is one of these throwers for Revolution. It's just really tough to mark. I mean, not a great job getting the force on there, but it seems like she's impervious to the force.
So yesterday really highlighted how difficult she is to guard. Today, I think Revolution's offense looks a lot cleaner. We're not having to have the kinds of tight throws that Cartagena threw yesterday to keep them in the game and ultimately help them win against Riot. So today, things looking a little more textbooks. Obviously, she's had a couple of really long, beautiful puts, highlighting her versatility as a longer thrower. But yesterday, I was just so impressed with how she could squeeze it into the end zone, which with some players you'd think that's a high-risk throw, but with Cartagena at the helm, you're like, well, no, that's just what she can do.
Couple goals for Santos and Cartagena on each of the last two Colombian World Games rosters, 2013 in Cali, Colombia, 2017 in Wrocław, Poland. And remember, the 2017 World Games began with a shocking upset. Colombia beat the United States to start the tournament. In a wild game, they would meet in the finals and the U.S. would get their revenge. Colombia taking the silver medal in Poland at 2017 World Games. But beating the USA in pool play was a titanic achievement. In the red zone, Brute Squad errs. Synchrope kind of forced it in there and didn't really have a clean target. There have been 3 breaks so far in this first half, Megan. Brute Squad got the first 2, led 5-2. Revolution turns it back. Schwamm rips it away. Revo got their break back to make it 5-4. Vacillating between the 1 and 2 goal deficits ever since, and Brute Squad will take a timeout in Revolution's half of the field, looking to take it to the half. Another missed opportunity for a break here with Schwamm recording the easy pick. Only 11 turnovers in this first half. In the 14 points. Colombia with 1 more than Boston, and that reflecting on the scoreboard. Ariel Jackson, veteran Brute Squad coach, in his 5th season at the helm. Brute Squad, a program that started in 2002. They made it to nationals almost immediately. For the first time in 2003, coming out of the great Boston teams of the early 2000s and the 90s, the Lady Godiva teams that were great. Brute Squad kind of began as a secondary Boston team, a young Boston team. They were seeded dead last at Nationals in 03, seeded 16th, finished 13th. Made it to quarters in 05, made it to the semis in 06 and 07. Made it to the final for the first time in 09, but they never were able to get to the top of the mountain until 2015. When they took down Riot and all the pieces came together. Beat Riot back-to-back years. That 2016 final was a classic. All the finals that year were incredible. A lot of people like to complain about Rockford, but the only time I've been to Rockford, we saw that Brute Squad Riot game and that Revolver Ironside game, which are 2 of the best finals of nationals I've ever seen. Yuga Shao back to Amber Synchrope. Difficult throw, well executed, but sliding. Cassie Wong was on the line, so she's not in, but now she is. Synchrope to Wong, takes it to half, 8-6.
Amber Synchrope to the end zone for Cassie Wong, and the Brute Squad score. That's halftime here.
all things considered, a relatively clean first half from both teams. Certainly a few decisions both squads would like back. Revolution will receive to start the second.
Besides the turnovers, I think this is just the sloppiest bit of offense that we've seen from Brute, and it's certainly not that bad, so it's not saying much. But Wong and Sinacro kind of going it quickly into the end zone.
Cassie Wong scores a lot of goals for this team. That's her first of the game today. Brute squad jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and they're up 8-6 at the half as we send it down to Ian Toner.
Thanks, Evan. I'm here with Coach Ariel Jackson. Coach, before the game, you said you wanted to see how your offense would respond to the different looks that Revolution's defense threw at you. How did you feel your offense did in that first half?
Generally, I was pretty pleased. There's definitely room for improvement. I thought when we're hucking from flow, we're having a lot of success. It was when we're hucking from a standstill that we were throwing it to poaches and putting it up short. So I was pretty pleased, but there's room for improvement.
Last year at this tournament, Nicole Canning put her name on the map. Breakout performance. She's got her fingerprints on the stat sheet here in the first half, too. What's made her such an impactful defender for your team?
She's really put in a lot of work, both on her mark and her footwork downfield. So she has put in a lot of work on the technique side, but that doesn't do anything unless you hustle. So she's got both.
What's the message to the team heading into the second half?
Keep the foot on the gas on defense. We might throw a couple different looks to keep the pressure on. And offense, we're doing well, but we can clean it up even more.
Go get some shade. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
Evan, back up to you.
Great stuff. Appreciate Ariel Jackson's time. He loves to call himself a contrarian coach. Certainly he's a thoughtful one, and his team has tons of talent to play around with. 8-6, Brute Squad leads Revolution. We're at the half of the women's final. We're back at the National Sports Center, the first of our 3 championship matches today. The women's final is at the half with Brute Squad leading Revolution 8-6. Columbia will receive to start the second, but first, a look at the first half highlights, and Megan Tormey, the deep space was open.
The deep space was wide open, and we were happy viewers because of it. Both teams working fairly well in the long space, some beautifully timed puts over the stack into the end zone. Really, both teams really have a lot to be proud of in terms of the way they have set up their offense and kept it gelling.
It was a great point by Ariel Jackson. His team only has 5 turnovers in the game. When they hucked from a power position in the flow, it was great. When they hucked from a standstill, those are half of their turnovers.
Yeah, it's textbook ultimate, but it can be really hard to execute in the moment. Both teams seem to be able to do that quite well today.
Brute Squad's O-line, incredibly smooth. This was a 4-pass possession. Alana Schwam with an excellent first half, this time finding Trope. That made it 4-2 Boston, and they would break Revolution after that to go ahead 5-2. But then Revolution would find some rhythm. Manuela Cardenas showing why she's considered one of the best throwers in the world. Angela Zhu could say the same thing about her and what she has done throughout her young career. Late in the half, the offenses were very, very smooth, especially Brute Squad. They became a little bit more conservative, and when they took care of the disc, they were relatively unstoppable.
Yeah, the downfield offensive players allowed the space for plays to work through. When they found themselves not stretched out, not flowing, there was enough time and space to reset, and they recovered quickly.
A few pointers from Ariel Jackson and his assistant Rob Brazil. 8-6, Brute Squad, 7 points away from another U.S. Open crown.
Welcome back to Championship Sunday here in Blaine, Minnesota. Halftime of the women's championship game. I'm joined by Revolution head coach Mauricio Moore. His squad trails Boston Brute Squad 8-6 here at the half. That's a familiar story this weekend. Yeah. Why does your team keep finding itself in these halftime holes?
Okay, so the big thing is before the start of the game, you had to figure it out. I mean, you have to solve the problems in your brain, you know? Like, you have to find what is this thing is going to present, like it's going to show up in the game. And that's a hard thing, you know. And we try and we work on it, you know. But there's some bubbles, you know, like and I think that that's something that has been happening during the whole tournament. That's why it keeps presenting at the beginning. But I think the team is really confident right now, like feeling we're doing a great job. I mean, and it's not just a team thing, it's also my thing, you know? Like, I have to do the same thing. And I was kind of angry because of some of mistakes in the beginning, like, kind of angry. And I decided, like, okay, we're here though. Like, look, son, like, this is fantastic. The game is fantastic, the players. So it's a day to have fun.
Your team places a big premium on mental toughness. How do you train that when you're away from a competitive setting?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really consistent like schedule of meetings for that. Like, we meet together at least one time per month online. Like, out of the meetings we have pre-game, pre-practice. Every single practice we have a half an hour mental toughness talk, and then 1 month, 2 hours about meeting when we put the, let's say, contents that we go through, like that we walk through. So that's the way we do it, and each person apply that to the game, but also to life. You know, like, basically, okay, this is the trick. So it's not just like forehand or backhand thing. It's like, okay, how are you gonna apply this thing at work tomorrow? How are you gonna apply this thing at college? So they use those tools and practice it on school, and then they come to the practice and they already have a path.
What's the message to your team for the second half here?
Well, the message is like, okay, we know why we're losing, and we know when we can win. So basically, just find the thing you have to find. I apologize because I get angry in the beginning. Even the players, like, I didn't notice, like, and I said, it doesn't matter. I was angry, you know, like, so each person give your battle, give your internal battle, and go to the field and have fun. We're here because we want to have fun. So that's the big message.
Mauricio, you've engineered some comebacks before. We're excited to see if you can do it again. Revolution trails Brute Squad 8-6 here at halftime of the Women's Championship game. You'll see the conclusion after the break.
Balanced scoring from both teams. Couple of goals apiece for Trope and Santos. Sinacrope, Schwam, Cardenas, and Cartagena 2 assists apiece in the first half. Revolution getting set to receive. Their O-line is out there. They're trailing by 1 break, but they will need to break twice to win. And that's assuming Brute Squad doesn't add more breaks onto the lead. Caitlin Lee with the opening pull to start the second half. Let's see what Revolution has left in the tank, and if Brute Squad can avoid the mistakes that Riot experienced in the second half yesterday. Kind of a look what I found block for Aaron Ray. And Brute Squad with an early opportunity to extend the lead. Hannah Henkin, the middle of the field. Quick reset from Ray to Zoo. Lefties it. Back to Henkin. And Zoo gives it to Groom. It's 9-6 Boston. Matching their largest lead of the game as they break to start the second half.
We certainly have seen Revolution pull out a few breaks, but mistakes like that will certainly not help them. And then look at how Brute's offense is functioning. Yesterday, the increased pressure from Revolution caused some errant throws and poor decisions from Riot that Revolution capitalized on. Right now, Revolution is not putting on the kind of pressure that is forcing those mistakes. It's going to be much harder to get breaks from Brute's offense today.
Tammy Groom and the Brute Squad D-line punishing Revolution for its errors. And Zoo to Groom has been a familiar scoring combination through the years for Brute Squad. Zoo just 23, but in her 6th year on the Brute Squad team. Reminiscent of Amber Sinacrope, who's just 30 and in her 14th year on the team. Easily the longest tenured member of the squad. Vicky Negus has been on the team 9 years, and Sinacrope still beat her to the squad by 5 years. Cartagena up the line, makes a tough grab. Worthfully side by side. Wong on Cardenas, downfield for Galindo. And a pick.
Okay. Hey, solid 3, Trey. Oh, hold on. Okay.
The bilingual Daniel Wong letting everybody know the stall count. Manuela Cardenas shakes free of Cassie Wong and catches and spikes. Little emotion in that score to try to get her teammates going.
Normally, you are taught not to dance in the open lane. But if you're going to do it, take a page out of Cardenas' book. 2 quick steps towards Wong, and she easily peels into the end zone, wide open.
Nice throw from Galindo. Bogota native joining the team in 2019 for the first time. Played Ultimate for a while, 28 years old. It's worth mentioning again, this Revolution team is playing without a few of their cornerstone players, including Laura Ospina, who had the amazing layout that made it onto SportsCenter in the World Semifinals last year, indoors. Had the privilege of calling that one in Ohio. Ospina tore her ACL last fall at Colombian Nationals. Her goal is to be back for the PAUC tournament in Sarasota in November. Of course, she had her cleats on warming up today, just as Aleja Torres did. But Torres, the veteran handler, not ready to play either. Tajima initiates as usual for the Brute Squad-O. It's Grignon Thomas. Cartagena on the mark. Asked more before the game, Megan, as we see a pick downfield. Do you ever worry about playing your top players too many points? And he immediately said no. Said it really quickly, which surprised me a little bit because his top players, Manuela, Valeria, Gina Cartagena, Elizabeth Mosquera, played virtually every point in the second half yesterday. But he said, look, we take the 2 timeouts that we have to give them more rest. We had a level 1 hydration break, which gave them an additional 3 minutes, and they're professional athletes in his eyes. They certainly didn't fade down the stretch yesterday.
Yeah, he said, we needed 6 points to win. What were we going to do? We had to have them on the field. And they simulate those kind of scenarios in practice. You need 6 points to win. Get out there and get it done.
You need to score 6 before the other team can score 2, basically. Grignon Thomas shoots it to Malinowski. Mosquera closing in, but Malinowski with a 2-handed claw catch for Boston. It's 10-7.
Credit to Grignon Thomas. But again, I have to highlight Malinowski's timing. Having a defender like Mosquera on you, and as tight as she was, you really have to ensure that you are starting your cut from the appropriate place at the appropriate time to stay just 1 step ahead of her. I mean, look at how Mosquera closed the distance. But Malinowski so seasoned at setting up her cuts well for her teammates.
And Grignon Thomas, part of the Canadian World Games squad from 2 years ago that took the bronze medal in Poland. They also put a scare into the USA, taking an early lead in USA's second game of that tournament after they had lost to Mauricio Moore's Colombian squad in the opener. Next World Games scheduled for 2021 on American soil in Birmingham, Alabama. And one of the conversations, Megan, I'm looking forward to having over the next couple of years is who are the players that you envision rising into that elite echelon, because you got to be the best of the best to have a shot to make that squad. Certainly Brute Squad has several of those that'll be in contention. Tammy Groom and Leanne Hoffman represented Brute Squad on that World Games team last time around, as did the Cardenas sisters for Colombia. And their team, as much as any in the field, really ran through their women. Cardenas sisters, Mosquera.
Okay, falling 2, go!
Obviously, Cartagena, some of the other international teams had a very difficult time matching up, understandably so. Here's Manuela to Mosquera. That was easy. So the last 3 points have all been turnover free, as Mosquera picks up her second goal of the game.
That's Boston 10, Medellin 8.
Revolution hanging around, but they're still going to need 3 breaks to come back and win this thing. And I'm not sure the Brute Squad offense is going to be broken 3 times.
I'm not so sure either. I mean, they're not even giving Revolution the space to do it. They're moving the disc so quickly. Their spacing is so wide. I just haven't seen any opportunities, even close to an opportunity that Revolution simply isn't capitalizing on. Brute Squad is just denying the possibility of an opportunity for Revo to take the disc away.
It's a hot one, and the sunshine is strong, so kudos to the fans who are bearing the brunt of the heat in the metal bleachers, enjoying this women's final. We thank those of you who have joined us around the country and around the world. Martinez trots off the field. The hat that he's wearing is not the hat that he always wears. In fact, he gets a new hat almost every year, and he has made a tradition of gifting the hat to someone different at each major tournament he goes to when the tournament is over. He was telling us a story about he met someone in an elevator who said that her team's coach was the biggest fan, and he's already written a message inscribed on the bottom side of the hat that he will gift to another young aspiring coach later today. Pretty cool. A lot of space on that open side for a cutter. Who's it going to be? Claire Trope. Launching deep. Schwamm. Denied by Mosquera, who had the angle and read it beautifully.
A rare opportunity for Revolution.
This is Brute Squad's first turn of the second half. And a great play from the great player.
One well earned by Mosquera.
Four throws and Revolutions across midfield to Rojas. Back to Valeria. Waiting for a cutter. It's Forero. Tough grab made there by Mosquera. Keeping that disc off the turf, Cardenas. And a pick downfield, Valeria marked by Alana Schwamm. You see the break chances.
Here we go, D! Come on, White! Let's go!
Columbia 1 for 5 in the game, compared to Brute Squad, who's 3 for 4.
Let's work here, Becky! Let's go! Yes, Quad! Get to work, Quad!
Inside break, Ferrero continues.
Keep working, Becky!
Eliana Rico takes the reset. And it was strong end zone defense from Brute Squad, but you can only contain this Revolution team for so long. And it's Maria Angelica Forero who hauls in the goal. That's a break for Revolution. They're back within one. All made possible by the great defense from Mosquera.
I really liked watching Revolution this offensive possession. As you said, Brute Squad's defense was tight. Revolution did a great job reacting to it. When necessary, they moved the disc wide. They broke once, took that extra shot. Brute Squad recovered quickly, so they paused, moved the disc back along the end zone line, waiting for that throw to open up from Ferrero. Certainly wasn't a wide open shot, but it was what Brute Squad was giving them, so they took it.
Very little rest for the weary. Mosquera preparing to pull. Cardenas sisters remain on the field as well. Cartagena, as you'd expect. Revolution trailing by 1. Game to 15. We're still about 22 minutes away from the soft cap. This has been a clean game. Brute Squad still with just 6 turnovers in the game. Revolution with only 7. Aaron Ray swings it to Angela Zhu. Deep shot. Open target, Grignon Toma. And a nice put from Tulsa Douglas.
Tulsa Douglas to the end zone. Jesse Grignon Toma brings it in for the Brute Squad score.
If you want a dark horse for the 2021 World Games team, Tulsa Douglas. She's got all the tools.
She does. That was a nice put. Saw her step out, release the disc far away from her body. Just a quick decision, quick release, executed flawlessly.
There have been 5 breaks in this game. And after 4 of the 5 breaks, the very next point, the offense was completely clean. And there have not been back-to-back breaks in the game. Brute Squad continues to add new talent in terms of their rookie class this year. Lane Seedor, longtime University of Georgia, then Atlanta area player with Ozone. Adding in Vicky Chen, we talked about her. Yuga Shao from AMP, Claire Trope from Riot. There are very few new spots available, and Brute Squad usually fills them with impact players, including Trope, who's bouncing on the mark. Downfield, Canning covering Valeria, who shoots it, trying to go over the defenders and out of the reach of Maddie Fry, but there's a call. Hannah Henkin and Caitlin Lee, the closest defenders. It was Henkin who may have collided with Fry, who may have misread the disc herself.
Send it back. Do you want a ruling? Yeah, you did it first. Foul upheld. You'll take possession here, and then you bring it. After you check it in, you'll bring it back.
Foul call is a penalty, sir.
Linda. Yes. Foul upheld. So you take possession at the spot of the foul. You'll check with her, and then walk back.
Possession will stay with Revolution. Danny Fry to put it in play. Just outside
Live!
the end zone.
Fry initiates and almost turned it over. Manuela with a fantastic bid to the end zone. That'll work. Cartagena to Santos. Get the feeling that Revolution's not going away.
They never do, and they never will. Santos having herself a game today.
Yeah, she might be the revelation of this tournament.
She just always seems to be in the right place, unguarded.
Mapa Santos, 3 goals and an assist. Revolution back within one, 11-10. 2 years ago, just to make it into the semifinals, Revolution beat Brute Squad in the pool play, and that was when there were 12 teams and there were 2 pools of 6. Revolution narrowly made it into the semis where they beat Seattle Riot and really just exposed Seattle Riot. That was a much more dominant performance 2 years ago than what we saw yesterday when it was a very evenly matched battle that went down to the wire. And that championship game against Molly Brown 2 years ago was one of the classic games in the history of this tournament. Very few turnovers, really intense from start to finish. And that was a resurgent performance from Molly Brown, maybe their best tournament ever, where they recorded wins against all the top teams that they've struggled to beat on the biggest stage. And they were the last American team standing at the US Open 2 years ago, but they could not get by Colombia.
You want to talk about a team that also exhibits mental resiliency. Molly Brown is certainly one. Regardless of the score, they rarely look beaten.
Downfield, Grignon, Thomas, Malinowski, Schwam, and there's Groom, open for the score. Took a while for the Carters to create some separation, but eventually Groom did just that. And the handlers, Synacrope, Tajima in particular, did a nice job taking care of the disc until the Cutters were open downfield.
I think that particular possession was the longest any Brute Squad player held on to the disc. I mean, other than that, they're releasing stall 1, stall 2. This is exactly what offensive flow should look like.
Can you share your perspective as a defender and the frustration that encroaches when you don't get to stall 3 ever?
Gladly. When the stall count increases, first of all, that just feels like such a boost because you're like, I know my teammates are taking away options downfield. I know that my mark is cutting off options on the break side. It makes you feel more capable as a defender. But second of all, every second that the opposing team is on offense is a second in which you generate opportunities to get the disc. Brute Squad is moving the disc so quickly, they're taking away those seconds of opportunity from Revolution.
Mosquera.
Injury, injury.
Like we have an injury stoppage.
Are we okay? Yes, you come in on stall 2.
We're good? Stalling 2? Go.
Glad Cartagena's all right. Tulsa Douglas taps it back in. Here's Santos again. Chased by Rachel Kramer.
Saying 4.
Nice rising throw past the bidding mark of Wong. And just great two-player movement. Manuela and Cartagena do it again. 12-11. There's only been one turnover, Megan, in the last 8 points of this game. Only 2 turnovers in the second half total. 1 for each team.
It's been pretty, there is no doubt about it.
We are getting to the finish line of this game, though. It's a game to 15. We're almost certainly going to get to 15. Still 12 minutes away from soft cap. And in fact, you got to win by 2 if you're tied 14 all and the cap hasn't impacted the destination. We could go to as high as 17 in this one. What would it mean to Revolution to win their second U.S. Open in 3 years, from your perspective?
I believe that it would be incredibly reassuring to Mauricio Moore that the journey he started on a decade ago was sound and correct, and he has been taking the appropriate steps. I think that he would feel as though there's a lot of legitimacy to what he's trying to do for this team, for these players. But all the same, I think he carries a lot of pride in what they've accomplished so far, and even if they don't come out ahead in this game, there's still a lot to be proud of and a lot to review and say these are appropriate steps to develop a winning program starting from almost nothing.
You have to imagine that as the years go on, more and more of these Colombian players will try and play in the U.S. club scene, like Manuela Cardenas has done with Denver Molly Brown the past 2 years, and like her sister Valeria will do for the first time with Seattle Riot this year. I think Mauricio is both looking forward to and is a little bit fearful of that moment when Riot and Molly Brown might intersect in an elimination game at Nationals in the quarters or the semis or the finals, and kind of the first time he'll see them go head-to-head under the bright lights. They certainly have gone head-to-head in practice many times.
No contest.
Gone head-to-head in fun games that
So
they play on the sidelines.
They were very excited to come to the U.S. Open and play pool volleyball at their hotel that they've stayed at. Manuela Cardenas had a little wrap on her hand, and I asked if everything was okay, and he just kind of shook his head and said it was a volleyball injury. She's fine, clearly.
Against her sister.
Right. Well, there's the third turnover of the second half. Brute Squad gives it away, and Revolution could tie this game up here. Will they consider using a timeout? Valeria Cardenas, marked by Ray. Ana Rojas distributes for Eliana Rico. And here's Mosquera. Forero across midfield. And a timeout is indeed taken, with Revolution looking for the equalizer, just like yesterday. Yesterday's game, the first and only tie of the game was at 12-12. It was a game to 13. Here, Revolution trying to equalize this one at 12 apiece again. It's pretty amazing how this similar script continues to unfold. In the quarters against Molly Brown, they were down 3-0. In the semis against Riot, they were down 4-0. In this game, they're down 2-0 and 5-2, and yet here we are second half. How do they keep doing this?
Well, you heard Mauricio Moore talk about it in his halftime interview. There's an inner battle that's taking place right now, and he feels he has given his team the tools to fight and win that inner battle.
Don't forget, we are 1 hour away from going live on ESPN2 in the men's final. The defending national champions, Pony from New York City, against the #1 seed of this tournament, Seattle Sockeye. Looking forward to that. That is less than 60 minutes away. Here's Forero. Shanique Crawford plays it back and a good swing. Rico. Cardenas to the end zone, not yet. On the goal line, shy of the scoring surface. And no panic whatsoever from Revolution. Into the end zone, it's Mosquera, the equalizer. A missile from Cardenas. And Revolution has come back again. Trailed by as many as 3. We're tied at 12 in this battle to 15, win by 2.
It can be so tempting to try and force it when you're at the doorstep for as many possessions as Revolution was. But as you said, no panic whatsoever. Resetting when necessary. I mean, they seem very comfortable at the front of the end zone in a way I don't think a lot of teams are. They don't seem to sense that the space they have is narrowing. It's still perfectly viable, and they're perfectly calm.
They trailed 10-7 in this game. And since then, a 5-2 run to tie this thing up. 4th assist for Valeria. And she is going to get a breather at 12 all. How will Brute Squad handle this? You know, Brute Squad has not really tightened its lines throughout the game. They've continued to shuffle in O and D in the substitutions. They like their depth. They want to utilize it. Orphalie, Zhu, Groom. Out there with Henkin, Wong, Grignon, Thomas, and Canning.
20 seconds.
And again, Leanne Hoffman, unquestionably one of the superstars for this Brute Squad team, tweaked a hamstring the first point of the first game of the weekend. She was out in the field, cleated up, jogging around. She's got her cleats on the sideline, but Ariel Jackson said before the game, if this was the finals of nationals, she'd be playing. U.S. Open, they want to preserve, make sure she's available for the rest of the season. Orphalie, downfield, completes it. Grignon Thomas, met by Mosquera. To Henkin. Boston Brute Squad looking to retake the lead. How about that high release lefty throw? The stall was called, however. Impressive throw from Henkin regardless, but did she get it off?
Well, then one heck of a mark from Carvajal.
Okay. Do you want to bring it back? Do you want a ruling? Stalling 8. Ocho. Hold on. Stalling 8. Ocho.
Choosing not to go to the observer and play a contest, throwing this one to the end zone, and it's converted. Cassie Wong was open, and Henkin with a perfect put around the defense to the wide open target, giving Boston the lead again.
You saw Revolution quickly try to adjust what they were doing defensively. Carvajal had been putting on a blistering mark. She stepped back to take away the break. 2 Revolution defenders came up to try and take away any cuts coming in, but their defense didn't account for that over-the-top put directly into Wong's hand.
would have happened if that stall had gone to the observer?
It's a good question.
Regardless, timeout called. Brute Squad up by 1. And the soft cap about 2.5 minutes away. I'm going to show you full speed. Stall 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You calling a fast count on me?
No, I wouldn't. I thought it felt like a very long time.
A break for Brute Squad. I felt like my count was a little fast down the stretch.
Maybe
I got a little excited.
Maybe between 6 and 7. But if I were a player, I wouldn't have called fast count on that.
Our crew did time it on the counter, and it was 10 seconds. So says our esteemed production truck. Tulsa Douglas on the pull. Revolution trailing by 1 with possession. Cartagena for Manuela Cardenas. Picked up by Lee. Here's Mosquera. Can be demoralizing to guard some of these players, frankly, on both teams. They just keep getting open no matter what you do. Good clean offense again. This is Maddie Fry back to Cartagena. Manuela. And Fry just roasting Hulbert to the open side. Can't even see him, but I know Ian Toner gets frustrated whenever someone gets beat to that fourth side cone. We're tied at 13 here in the women's final.
I don't know. I don't think Ian can get too frustrated about this cut. I mean, Maddie Fry just accelerated from a dead stop. I don't know. Maybe Ian can get mad if he wants to.
Ian, how you feeling down there?
That's the most dangerous area on the field. Just protect that one space.
Fine.
Please.
Fine.
He shouts these things in his sleep, folks. So 13 all. The soft cap did go off that point, so we add 2 to the higher score. There is no higher score. It's a game to 15.
13-13, game to 15.
So we have either 2 or 3 points remaining in the women's division at the U.S. Open. Another dose of Inception there. You see all the different scores. Mosquera preparing to pull to a Boston O-line. That includes Tajima, Trope, Malinowski, Sinacrope, Schwam, Grignon Thomas, and Shao. Ian, apparently there was the soft cap went off after that point.
That's right, Evan. The soft cap went off after the point, so we could be playing a game to 16 if things stay tight.
Got to win by 2 or play to 16. So it's still a game to 15 right now if one team can score the next 2 goals. Which is maybe a little more confusing than it has to be. These players know the situation, though. Although I bet some of them don't. Oftentimes players don't know what the game is being played to or even what the score is. Tajima. Good mark from Karen Rico. Chow downfield for Trope. To the end zone, too far ahead of Schwam. Just the 8th Brute Squad turnover of the game. But Revolution has not turned it over since the first point of the second half.
Trope is struggling to connect with her teammates today.
Split stack. Middle of the field open. Mosquera near the goal line. Bouncing on the mark. Malinowski rejects the high release backhand from Mosquera. What a huge defensive play from the lanky Brute Squad cutter. Grignon Toma hauls it in, feeling the pressure, but Brute Squad retakes the lead. What a sequence. Boston up by 1, 14-13. This is the first turnover of the second half. Or I should say the second turnover of the second half. The first since the opening point. Malinowski, active hands.
You know, I am always shocked to look at the stat sheet and see that Malinowski is only 5'10". I mean, that is tall for a female, but she plays and seems even longer than that.
6'10" sometimes.
So I am sure Mosquera is not accustomed to facing that kind of lengthy defensive pressure.
Wow. Exciting stuff. 14-13. Revolution looking to punch this next one in and make it a game to 16. Otherwise, Brute Squad could break to win. Werfeli prepared to pull. 7 together for Colombia. No rest for any of the big 4. Uribe, Fry, also out there along with Santos. Mosquera was going a little too deep though for the Huck. Cartagena gets a good chunk underneath. Pretty good downfield defense there from Cami Groom on Manuela Cardenas. You can still see Groom not buying any of Manuela's moves. She gets one step deep, and that throw's going out the back. Everyone on Brute Squad played amazing defense there, but special accommodation for Cami Groom and what she did against Cardenas.
And normally, Cardenas is able to get open on one little dance move. Cami stayed with her and with her and with her.
Revolution needs to force a turnover right here. Werfeli to Wong. Continue downfield for Ray. Big backhand bluff. Dartmouth teammates. Werfeli and Zhu. And another one, Caitlin Lee. Raking the mark, sneaks it past the defender Santos. Brute Squad began on their goal line, now just shy of midfield. Here comes Wong from the stack. Ray looked off, clears out. Werfeli into the red zone. And a travel called, so play resets. And resumes. And apparently a violation because there wasn't global recognition of the travel call, so some of the players kept moving. Brute Squad looking to win the U.S. Open for the second consecutive year and for the third time in the last 4 years. This would presumably give Brute Squad the status of favorite heading into the fall. High stall count. Groom floats it to the end zone. It's caught by Aaron Ray. A stall was called by Manuela Cardenas. If the stall is overturned, that would end it. The observers will converse.
We can come in as a, we'll come back in as a contest.
Are you sure that you don't want to go there? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So it's coming back in as a contested stall.
You can choose to come to us. If
Yeah,
you would like
do you
to
want?
yes.
Yes, you can ask me. Yeah. Okay.
Possession will stay with Brute Squad, however, outside of the.
My ruling is that she got the disc for the stall, so there is no stall. So then it is a goal.
An anticlimactic finish, but Boston Brute Squad will celebrate another U.S. Open title nonetheless. Manuela, from a cost-benefit standpoint, should have played it as a contest. Aaron Ray comes flying in, the second-year Brute Squad member. Hauls in the scrambling final goal, and Brute Squad breaks to close it out. An entertaining women's final, 15-13, Boston victorious. Really good game.
Great game, one worth watching again if you want to learn how to set up your offense, how to keep things moving. You know, it's crazy that the game came down to that throw from Cami Groom because almost everything else in the game looked beautiful from both sides.
Wild stuff. Fewer than 20 total turnovers between the two teams. Brute Squad a little bit better. U.S. Open champs again. We'll be back. The USA Ultimate US Open Club Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. By the Ultimate History Book, illuminating the legendary stories, moments, and photos from the sport of Ultimate over the past 50 years. Learn more at ultimatehistorybook.com. And by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Now featuring an updated website to make ordering custom discs easier than ever. Visit discraft.com for all your custom disc needs. The first of 3 championship games at the US Open in the books, and this was entertaining from start to finish. Brute Squad hanging on for a 15-13 win over Columbia Revolution. Cami Groom threw the winning goal, standing by with Ian. Apologies for the audio difficulties.
But we'll clean that up by the end of the season.
What do you think Brute Squad's ceiling is as you look toward the rest of the season?
I think our ceiling's incredibly high. I think one of the greatest things, the things I love about this team, is that anybody can show up any given day, and you don't know who it's going to be that day, but you know someone's going to show up, and we all have each other's backs, and we're really happy for each other when we perform well. So I think you saw that today with different people stepping up, and it was just a team effort win.
What was it like to get tested by such a great international squad, not once, but twice this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, playing Revolution is always a joy. It makes us so much better in so many ways to see their different style, and we also match up really well in terms of physicality and the way we play defense. So having like the physical defense that we usually play thrown back at us is a great challenge and something that I think makes the whole sport better, but especially our team.
Does your intensity elevate when you match up with Manuela Cardenas or another player who's just so respected on the international stage?
For sure. I think, you know, you try to approach every matchup as if it's the exact same, but there definitely is something about matching up against someone like Manuela where you're like, I got to be in another gear, and I can't let up in any facet of my game, or else it's going to be trouble for me.
Well, we've been keeping you from your teammates. Thank you so much for your time. Go celebrate. Congratulations on another U.S. Open victory.
Thank you.
Evan, back up to you.
Cami Groom is awesome. Typically thought of as a quiet contributor, goes about her business. You put a microphone in front of her, and she is fascinating to listen to. Our Discraft play of the game, this hand block by Becky Malinowski. That was with the score 13-all. And then the ensuing dish from Tajima to Grignon Thomas to make it 14-13. That prefaced the final point, which Brute Squad broke to win. Discraft play of the game brought to you by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star. Megan Tormey, your final thoughts on what this Brute Squad win means for the women's landscape heading toward Pro Championships and then the series.
Well, listen, Cami Groom said it best. The ceiling of their potential is quite high.
Yes.
And we know that they haven't reached it at this tournament. They just peaked at the right moment. So it means scary things for the women's division. Brute Squad is a force to be reckoned with. You saw it here first. This is the bar. They've set it.
Yeah, everyone else, Fury, Riot, Scandal, Molly Brown, Traffic, Schwa, all the other women's teams that want to envision themselves on the biggest stage. This is the standard that you have to meet, what Brute Squad is putting on the table. And look, they're going to get better between now and October. What a great start to our championship triple header. We'll be back in 35 minutes on ESPN 2 with the men's final. Pony and Sockeye, New York and Seattle ready to go at it. For now, we say so long from the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. For Ian Tormey. For Ian Toner and Megan Tormey, I'm Evan Lepler, I think. We'll be back with you in a little over a half hour. More Ultimate